I mean, so like I actually I went to SWE, Society of Women Engineers conferences, and at those, I mean, you're surrounded by engineers, right? But the best thing was that it was actually typically engineers that wanted to talk to other people, which sounds very weird and very rare. That's why it was so exciting, because you'd be surrounded by them.
Welcome to another episode of Young Entrepreneurs with the Green Roof team. My name is Nelson Fernandez, your host, and today we're joined by one of our managers, Zachary Boehl. Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing real good. How are you?
Feeling fantastic. Another warm day in Chicago, oddly. But diving into today's episode, I believe our topic is going to be centered around networking and how it's not always about you. So kicking off today's episode, I thought it'd be great to begin off with a quote from the CEO of Verizoni Greenlight, who said, "The currency of real networking is not greed, but generosity." Do you have any thoughts when you hear this?
Yeah, like I've always been good at making friends, and in my opinion, it's because it's not about me, right? Like it's about what value I can provide to people. You know, I find that people tend to make it about you if you make it about them.
Yeah, definitely, I couldn't agree more. I always live by rule of them, like, to have the friends you want, you need to be the friend that you want to have.
Yeah, definitely. So reciprocity is certainly needed. And, you know, like being the first person to provide something makes other people want to prove their worth to you as well, you know?
Cool. So taking this and networking in the context of business, the first thing that comes to mind is going to different events and having the opportunity to network. Do you have any experiences you would like to share about conferences or different networking events that you've gone to in the past?
Yeah, it's actually one that both of us went to together. We went to, can't remember if it was in Tampa or it was in Florida, but we went to the Student Leadership Conference. Yeah, and I mean, essentially it's just a bunch of students that are either their vice president or the president of their student bodies from universities all around America. So it's people that are willing to talk, you know? And you could definitely tell who it was that was going to get connections based on how they talked to you. There's some people, they would just tell you everything about their school, that's it. You know, the people that ask you, like, so what is it you guys do? Do you have any advice for me? What do you think? Those are the people that were, like, not just handing out business cards, they were the people that are getting people's actual phone numbers. They were the people that someone else reached out to afterwards. You know, and they're definitely the names I remembered. I hardly remember the names of people that, you know, they introduced themselves and within 30 seconds they had said 10 more sentences about themselves.
Yeah, definitely the best people that made the best impressions, the ones just asking. I remember the kid from, I believe, Texas Tech or Texas State University, and he had breakfast with us, just asked us questions, got you to learn more about us. And I'll be honest, I follow him on Facebook and just see the cool stuff he does, and we'll talk every once in a while. But those are the ones that definitely lasted for me too.
Yeah, and even if you don't like immediately reach out to them, those are the people you remember. And if the opportunity comes to work, or if there comes an opportunity to like work with that person, I would jump at those opportunities, you know?
So say you meet someone for the first time, Zach, what type of questions do you usually go to learn about someone in this networking atmosphere?
Typically I ask them like, oh, like, so like what skills do you have? You know, and they start talking about those and I ask like, oh, how did you gain those? Like, no way, like those are really cool. What skills do you want to gain? Right? Like I try to keep it like sometimes skills because in terms of business, that's great. Like, but in terms of like meeting an individual, that's how you make it about them as a person.
Cool. So as you're discovering about this person, would you say you're trying to find ways to relate to them, maybe ways you can offer knowledge that you have to them, or try and see some kind of like similarities in experiences or connections you have?
Yeah, so a lot of it is like I try to find some similarities so I can say, oh, like you're an engineer, me too. What kind of engineering, right? Like those types of things. But a lot of times I also look for differences too. Uh, I've always talked about, in a team, your job isn't to make everyone the same. Your job is to get as big of a variety of people as you can so that they can cover for each other's weaknesses. So that's a lot of what I look for, especially if we're talking like business. If my business is good at one thing and your business is good at the things that my business lacks in, I need to work with you, even if it's not for a business thing. It's just for getting each other's skills, getting advice.
Yeah, definitely. Like taking a look at Green Roof team, we are 6 of us on the founding team, 4 our engineering, 2 our computer science. It's a lot of STEM in one area, not too many skills naturally in other areas like marketing, finance. So being able to have those connections could help us down the road fill in the gaps.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't even say that they'd help us. I'd say that they are going to keep us alive. Really, like they're a necessity for us.
Yeah, like one name just coming top of my head, Nate Jordan. He studied, I believe, biomedical engineering, but then also double major in business. So he has that background in finance, and then starting up his own business with another co-founder. He was able to dive deeper in. So anytime I know I have a finance question, he's my go-to guy. I'll pick up the phone, call him, and became a great mentor for us down the road. So as you go through a networking event and you identify someone who is not focused on others, but just on themselves, usually how does a conversation go? Do you try and steer away from them, or try and guide a conversation a certain way?
Usually, from what I do, is I give them a few opportunities to like ask about me, right? And if they miss those, like maybe they were just excited to talk about themselves, So I'll start trying to see like, okay, maybe I can edge in. But if they're kind of shutting you out of the conversation, at that point, I'll be honest, I just say, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. And then I forget to find them.
That's a good tactic. It's a good tactic.
In my opinion, they're going to find someone else to talk to, right? And when I see them, it's usually someone that's nodding along, looking at the watch. They're looking for an escape route too.
Cool. And that's similar to, I believe, in a tactic. If you're in a meeting that you shouldn't be in, not because it's just because it's not relevant to you, just getting up, saying bye and leaving because it's not relevant, it's a good tactic also. Being in a place where the environment not only suits you, but you can see the environment also and contribute. Cool. Okay. So going deeper into networking, having that initial stage at usually events, big help to get the ball rolling. But then what are ways you can, down the road, keep connections going, would you say?
All right. So in my opinion, you don't even have to like keep them going constantly, right? Some people think you got to message someone like every week or so. If you reach out randomly or you share a post that someone makes, or you just send them a message or comments, right? People see that and they're like, wow, like this person, like they get excited, right? Because they're like, oh my God, this person remembered me, right? And so that's when they start looking out. I remember Craig Ingstrom, he would always like comment on the LDP things, all that. And so like, because of that, I literally went out of my way to check out his LinkedIn all the time, right? Because he had checked out our pages. I'd comment or I'd say something. Or if I saw him, I'd stop and say, hi, like, how you doing? Like, what are you doing this week, right? Just like, when are we going to see you again? Like, even just like little things like that is really all it takes to remind people like, oh, this person actually enjoys my presence. And if you make someone feel welcome, like they're going to shine.
And it can help build trust at the same time.
Oh, hugely. Yeah. Like, like anytime you're building any sorts of like emotional connection, trust is inherently going to build itself up based off of that.
I was reading something somewhere, and it's like there's two types of networking events. The ones where people just want to talk about themselves, and the ones where you have to learn from others, and like it's more like how we were talking about in the beginning, like it's about getting to know one another and see what you can give. Forgot where I read it, but it's kind of like how do you identify those type of events, like which ones are the ones where people go and they can't want to just self-promote versus the ones where people really just want to connect to others.
And honestly, like, my opinion, it really depends on the person, right? Like, a lot of times, like, they will skew one way or the other, but you can find people that are genuinely willing to talk, especially if it's one of the ones where everyone's wanting to talk to themselves. Like I said, you just look for the person that's bored with the conversations, because they're probably the person that's like, great, it's all about you, cool. At the network events where everyone's talking to each other, that's you have to look around. You just walk up to groups. I love when it's like 2 or 3 people are already talking and you just join the conversation.
Yeah, I definitely can agree more. Like just getting involved with people and finding the right people to talk to, crucial step in the process. So now, well, taking a look back at university, you talked about the Collegiate Leadership Conference. Were there other conferences where you could find like-minded people also?
I mean, so like I went to Society of Women Engineers conferences. And at those, I mean, you're surrounded by engineers, right? But the best thing was that it was actually typically engineers that wanted to talk to other people, which sounds very weird and very rare. That's why it was so exciting, because you'd be surrounded by them, especially at career fairs that they'd have at those conferences were gold, because there'd usually be people that weren't engineers that were running the booths. So you got to do that. You got to talk in front of them. And then you got to talk to other people, like, hey, how do you think that went for you? Getting to bounce ideas off of each other. Because a lot of times that's what it's about. Again, like everyone there is competing for jobs, but overall, every one of us can get better by talking to each other and like workshopping things.
Sweet, great conference, great organization also. Great for university students. So now coming out of college, have you dived in and looked for networking events or professional development events that you can go and meet people who are now in their early careers?
So I haven't specifically gone out to any of those yet, but there are actually conferences that so I'm working for Procter & Gamble. They're like conferences that they have, and they're similar affinity groups to the ones that we had in engineering, actually. So I was very interested in that. They also have a veterans networking one. So anytime they have a conference that's nearby, I'll probably go to that.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, definitely keeping in mind who's going there can be a big help on understanding the type of audience you can talk to. Giving an example from another team member of ours, Gustavo. We went to the RE Plus conference out in Anaheim about a month ago, I believe. Great conference, but the biggest downside, Zach, was everyone there was showcasing different technologies from their companies. It was more of a trade show, so they were trying to sell instead of network. And that was the one commonality we saw was they're just trying to show and ask about like, hey, how do you like this technology? Is it something you'd be interested in? Instead of it being more of a people's networking.
Yeah, it's all about the sales, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The cool part was they did have a few different workshops on the first day or two. I mentioned one of them focused on microgrids. Amazing event. They had 5 different speakers, but it was all focused similar to like a lecture series where they would go up, have a PowerPoint, be able to present on it, then you can ask questions. And it was a good chance afterwards to be around people and strike up conversation with like-minded folks. But otherwise, networking, great chance just to be around people like-minded, I would say, was part of the biggest benefit of going there. So Zach, coming up towards the end of today's episode on networking, do you have any final advice on someone new to an event and how they can strike up a conversation in a few easy steps, or suggestions on questions you ask others?
Yes, actually. There's one thing I read that talked about the person who can make the most friends, and it's a dog, right? Because they're so excited to see you, right? It's never about them, right? If you're the type of person that is excited to see other people, and like typically that will be returned in kind. So that's all I can say is just, make sure that you're open, you're happy to see other people, and that you make them feel like you actually want to see them.
Cool. Couldn't have said that better. The ability to connect with someone else, be able to relate and learn more about others, while also knowing what you can give them in hopes and hearing what they can give you. Amazing. So Zach, thank you again for coming onto the show today, talking about networking. And for everyone listening, we invite you to listen to other episodes of Young Entrepreneurs, learn different entrepreneurial lessons. And if you want to hear more about the team, don't forget to follow us on social media, take a look at our website. And remember, folks, stay sustainable.